If you joined us 2 months ago, you may recall that Joanne is a Saunders College of Business alumna and a success and performance coach with true authentic power. Joanne's career path is unique. She enjoyed 15 successful years in corporate sales, including being a major account rep for companies such as Xerox, Fuji, and Toys R Us. When her life took a big turn, events led her to study cutting-edge, life-enhancing avenues not commonly talked about or used in business. Joanne has since combined her past sales and business success with the power of energy and the subconscious mind. Her private coaching practice has grown almost completely by referral, and she has developed a passion and desire to share powerful tools seldom used in business thinking. In addition to her successful practice, Joanne is a contributing author to the 2013 Amazon best-selling book, Ready, Aim, Influence. If you are hitting walls in your career, feeling unfulfilled despite doing all the right things, or experiencing resistance and feeling blocked from achieving your deepest desires, you've turned to the right webinar. Welcome, Joanne, and now let's get started.
Thanks, Lydia. I am so glad to be back because it seems like the first webinar that I did hit a little bit of a nerve, a little curiosity. It was, there was a lot of chat, and I thought that why don't we expand on that and come back and do a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give a little bit of an overview, but if you missed the first one back in April, there might be some fill in the blanks to go back and do that, to listen to that, because I'm not going to cover everything I did the first time. I'm going to give kind of an overview because in the first one, I wasn't sure how well the tapping would go over, meaning how I could do it without you seeing a video and being first time, I'm assuming, first time people to this energy technique. So this time I hope to do a little bit more tapping. So you're going to get to experience it in a bigger way this time. So let me get started here. So just to review how these blocks get started. So when you're hitting walls, when you're frustrated, when you're irritated and you know you're doing the same thing over and over again, but you can't seem to stop it or help it, these are what I call the negative MEPs. And there are probably more beyond this, but these seem to be the three biggest that I see come up a lot. Modeling from your family, emotions that are anchored to success, or whatever it is that you're blocking. We're going to deal with success again in this webinar, and patterns and perceptions that create protection. It's the one that I really want to focus in on is modeling from family or what you saw growing up. What we see before the age of 7, or give or take a few of the years on either side of that age, has such an impact on us. It gives us a foundation for what we see here about life, what we think it's going to look like, how we think we're going to react, how the people around us react to success, how they react to their careers, and we download all that kind of like a sponge without any questioning or, you know, just not any understanding of it could look different than that, because that's what we see, and we're in that brainwave state that acts like a sponge. So that's so important, because people will say, oh my gosh, I'm just like my mother, I'm just like my father. It's because that's what you learned in modeling. Now that doesn't mean it can't be changed. It doesn't mean it can't be, that you can't program in your energy and subconscious what you want, but that's why a lot of people get stuck, me included. Everybody has this kind of situation going on. So what we're going to be talking about is how do those, I'm not moving here, how do those, I'm a little stuck. Hold on one second. It's not, there we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about the location of blocks. How they show up is, okay, what are you thinking? Because they show up in your thoughts, which could be driven by your subconscious mind. How are you reacting? They show up in your emotions and how you're responding, how you're triggered by others. And I want to point that out because everybody, me included, before I knew about energy work, is they're doing this, and if they would only stop that, then I'd be okay. Well, you know, it's really almost a reflection when you're getting triggered of what's holding in you. Not that you brought that to you necessarily, but if you're being triggered, there's something going on in your energy, in your belief system that's reacting to what they're doing. What are you feeling? People don't necessarily pay attention to how their body is responding to things. Athletes might, people who are in a physical kind of situation might, but the average person doesn't necessarily, you know when you're stressed, your shoulders go up, your stomach gets tense, your breathing might get shallow, but there's a reaction and a pattern to what we do based on what the subconscious and the body is triggered to do. So we're going to get a little bit more into that. So I want to tell you some stories. I did this last time too, and I just think they represent a good way to understand these. Okay, so one of the men that came to me was, he came by referral, and it was just to try it out. He didn't really know what to expect, I don't think. And he came in saying to me he had more money than he could ever spend. Yet he was unhappy and had this chronic back problem. He was physically in shape. And it was also a family back pattern, which was kind of interesting because people don't look at things this way. They look at heredity. I look at energy. So the scenario behind why he was so stressed and unhappy was because the family dynamic was always push harder, build, do, grow, enhance, be more, always pushing, pushing, pushing. And he was realizing that he was stressed to the max, feeling that way, yet he was in a family business with a family member as a partner who also learned the same push, be better, build, do more, all that. Okay, so he had more money than he could ever spend. Now, I don't know what that meant to him, but obviously it wasn't a concern of making money, yet he couldn't pull back because the family expectation was you keep pushing, you keep growing, you keep building. He was unhappy, and there was a conflict about that. So we started talking about how did that start, where did that come from, and how was he carrying it on. He got so emotional that he actually fell apart in the session, really trying to fight back tears, because that's all the energy that was underneath that behavior. He wanted to change, yet how does he do that? There's a way to work through that with this technique I'm going to share with you. So another client, her belief was we have just enough. She heard it from her family. She heard it around her growing up, but it didn't make a difference how much money she made, how much, where she worked, how many hours she worked, the less she worked, the more she worked, what her rent was. It didn't matter. She always had just enough. That's an energy loop. That is not you're lazy or crazy or what the heck is wrong with me. That's an energy loop, and there's something that's stuck that's telling you that's your reality. And a lot of times that can start from early modeling. So let's go to another story. He had a business that he had him working weekends for years, and I'm talking decades, years. And that's exactly what he grew up seeing. That's what his dad did. Worked weekends, worked holidays, worked. And he ended up being in the same loop that he saw his dad do. Now, that's not necessarily conscious. He could have gone into a completely different business. I mean, it was a completely different business. And yet, he was reacting the same way that he saw. That's the power of modeling. Sometimes, not always. This is no absolutes here, but that's the power of what modeling can do for you. So another woman that I had as a client, I can't make it as a freelancer, so I'll have to get a job. And I'm sure a lot of you who are creative artists, musicians, people who do want to do freelance, if you've got that belief stuck, that's going to drive your bus. That's going to drive your energy. It's going to make that a reality in ways that you don't even know you're drawing. So what happened with her is, once we got to that, I can't make it as a freelancer, so I have to get a job. What she would do, every time she'd go to interview for a new job, she'd do great, she'd do well in the interview, she would get offered a job, and then she'd freak out, because that wasn't what she wanted to do. She wanted to be having the creative, power to be able to do what she wanted, how she wanted, and she had always had very demanding bosses. So she got caught in between this, I want to do this, but I've got to get a job. When we cleared that block, it was amazing, the leads that she got on freelance, and now that's what she's doing. So those are some modeling stories about what you can see, what you can hear, what you can think is true, and if you don't change it around, you might stay stuck in some of those things. And there are ways to turn it around. So
Joanne, let's stop. We're going to open up a polling question for our audience. So that should be popping up on the right-hand side of your screen. And the question is, are you you being the people out in the audience, seeing a replay in you from what you saw and heard about business and success while growing up. So take a couple moments and let people answer that question.
It's amazing how those beliefs that we take on as just, you know, you'll see a lot of family replay. What you grew up with, you kind of replay or model and mimic, and you don't even know you're doing it because nobody has ever said, hey, wait, you know, you can do something different and you can help your energy to make that happen.
While we're finishing up, I'll share an interesting analogy. There's a very well-known, people will figure it out, a very well-known female financial planner in the country who talks about, you know, with our children, especially young children, when we say things to them like, oh, honey, I'm so sorry I have to leave you in this care center, but I have to go to work, and I would so much rather spend time with you than go to my job. And it's embedding in your children this idea that work is not a good thing, that what you really want to do is hang out with your kids.
Right, so it's either or. It's a choice of you can't do both.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually get to a statement about that. And, you know, nobody is going to parent perfectly, even if you're a great parent. So I don't want to put people on alert to say, oh, my gosh, what am I saying to my kids, my little kids, you know. That's not what this is about, but you can reprogram that, and that's what this webinar is about.
Yep, so quite a few of our audience said yes, absolutely, you're seeing that. Some of you on the fence, you're not sure, but there seems to be a fair number of you that it's at least resonating that this might be happening.
Okay, good. Well, and there are other things that can be happening energetically too, but I specifically wanted to go into this because I think it's so overlooked and so important, and when you know where some of those things come from and why they're stuck, how you can reprogram them is what we're going to focus on. So, you know, you're not going to have time to do this in this hour, but you're going to you can develop your own tapping script. I'm going to be doing a technique called EFT, otherwise known as tapping, also known as emotional freedom technique. It is a physical technique, but you're going to be able to, people always say to me, I don't know what to tap on. Well, if you answer some of these questions, I'm going to show you how you can formulate and get to those hidden blocks. Somebody on the last recording had said, but I still don't know how to get to my hidden blocks. So asking and answering some of these questions will help you with that. And as we go through, I'm going to ask you some more questions, and you'll see how you can put that all together. So I hope this is a little more in-depth than last time. It is more in-depth than last time. Okay, so this I did have in the last webinar. What did you observe about success growing up? Now, this can apply to anything in your life, but for this webinar, we're working with success. This can apply to love. It can apply to relationships, friendships, you know, anything that you're blocking or that you're finding that you're having a resistance getting what you want. But we're going to talk about success. So what did you observe growing up? And you might want to go back after this is all done and take some time to answer these questions, because this is going to be really revealing to some of you to look at things in a different way. Was there struggle? Was there poverty? Because if you saw that, you might have taken that on as an absolute, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way my family does it. This is, for people like us, that's what happened. Did you see greed? You might go the exact opposite. If you saw, you know, people who were greedy and ruthless, and that's not to say that wealth goes with greed and ruthlessness, but if you saw that, you may say, heck no, I'm not doing that. That's not what I want. If you saw suffering of some kind, like I can't stay home with my family, I want to, you know, I would rather stay here with you, but I have to go work. Those things can just kind of happen by osmosis. It's not anybody's fault. You're not doing it on purpose, but it doesn't mean you don't take it on. Did you see ease or joy or gratitude or comfort? Were your parents happy with their job or their career? Or did you see them in misery or suffering? Or did you hear complaining about that at home? Because that will form your belief about that's what jobs or careers look like. Was it difficult to make or keep money? If you're looping in that and you saw a lot of that happening, if you saw your family always falling short or just making enough, did you hear you have to work really hard to get anywhere in this life? Now, I'm not negating that you have to work, but you can work smarter, not necessarily harder. you know, did you hear we can't afford it, or there's just enough, or I have this fear of all this debt? Do you have the fear of all this debt that you might not be able to repay it? Or, you know, did you hear, oh, work hard and then you can enjoy retirement? Well, I don't know about you, but there's no guarantee about tomorrow. So you don't want to miss the journey of enjoying your life as you go along with feeling safe. And you can actually program that into your energy. What did you learn about your passion, power, and being you? If you were taught that you need to follow in the footsteps, or this is how it looks, or this is how you have to do it, you may be shutting off your own passion or power or thinking it's not possible, just like that freelancer did. That's what she always heard, so she believed it was true. We changed that, and she's now working as a freelancer. That's the idea. You can start to revisit what you really want and how can you get that. How can you get those things? So did you see safety around success? Were needs met? Did you feel safe getting your needs met? All of those things can have a download into your energy that you don't even know, that you haven't even, you just didn't know. So this is where tapping comes in. I love this technique. Now this isn't the end all be all, and some people won't resonate with this, and this might not be right for you. But I have seen amazing, and I tell you, amazing things happen with this technique, which is why I wanted to share it, because you can't use what you don't know. So everything starts with a vibration. Everything is energy. And what a lot of people do is they'll go to the symptoms. They'll go to the end of, well, that isn't working at the end, but you've got to look at what caused the interruption or what caused the vibrational pattern to get there in the first place. Your thoughts manifest physically and emotionally, and tapping can change that. It's an emotional acupuncture but without needles. It's a physical technique, but it actually works on an energetic level, on an in an acupressure kind of way. It works on energy channels called meridians, and meridians run from your head throughout your body, from the head to the feet, and they connect with different organs in your body. And those organs within your body also carry an energy of emotions. So like, for example, your liver or your gallbladder is kind of associated with anger or frustration. Different organs have an energy about them, and so much of that, you know, we talk about mind, body, spirit, but how do you do that? This technique does that. It also provides clarity and resolution for what I call the negative MEPs, the modeling, the emotion, and the pattern. What happens when you do this and you're talking about an issue that's where you're blocked or something that's in the way, that engages your mind and your subconscious, that engages your body on an energy physical level, and when you start to use those things, it's as if people's spirit comes back to life. All the things that you felt you couldn't or shouldn't or whatever do, you start to live in a more vibrant energy that's, you know, healthier and happier. It's really amazing how it brings people back to life. So let's go on. So, you know, people a lot of times think their way through a solution, but this is the problem. Your subconscious mind runs 95%, so I've learned, of what we do. So if you are addressing things in your conscious thought, but you are not going to your energy or your subconscious, that's why you keep hitting the wall. You're not going to where you can solve the problem. You're staying in your mind where the conscious thoughts are not going to necessarily solve all the problems. They may do some, but when you can get to the root, that's where you really start to make the change. So a more important aspect is how to get in touch with how you feel. Why do you want what you want? It's not necessarily a thought that you're thinking. It represents a feeling that you want to have. So let's say you want to make $1 million, or you want to have $2 million, or whatever number it is. It doesn't matter. It's not about having paper money in the bank. It's about the feeling of what that paper money in the bank is going to give you. It's how it will make you feel. Will it be safe? Will you feel secure? Will you feel respected? Will you be proud? It's the feeling that you've got to put into and incorporate into how you're changing your energy. Now, Lydia, you mentioned a minute ago of going to daycare or working your job. I want you to start considering some of the words that you say. Like, people will say, I can have this or that, but they don't say I can have this and that. Like, I'd rather be poor and happy than wealthy and miserable. I've heard people say that. Well, why can't you be wealthy and happy? your energy, so if you've got those either ors, you know, instead of and, something told you that you can't have the and that's why I'm having this discussion with you, so that you can know, you can actually start to program in what you want. So, I think.
All right, so yes, we have our second polling question coming up. It should be on the right-hand side of your screen. And the question is one I can't read. Were any of your patterns created? That was the first one, was it not? I'm sorry. Were any of your patterns created by what you saw, felt, and heard about success? Sorry about that. So go ahead and take a minute to answer that second question.
I love this graphic. I had to put it in again because, honestly, really, don't you feel like that sometimes? Your head is a mess, your hair is standing on end, you feel frustrated, you know, I can so relate to this. Probably some of you can too. And it makes me smile, but it's so true.
All right, so it looks like we've got a lot of yeses, and a couple, still trying to figure that out, not sure whether or not that was the case.
And there may be other, you know, I'm strictly focusing on one aspect that really glitches a lot of people. There could be an incident or an event or something that really kind of, when I tell you, you know, slapped your energy or pounded your energy or gave an impact to your energy, there might be another reason, but this is such a big deal for so many people that a lot of times this is where I start with people instead of going in, okay, what's happening now, but what did you see? Because it's so powerful. It's really very powerful. Okay, so let's go to the benefits of tapping. Just a quick overview. This was in the first webinar I did as well. You know, have you ever gone into the fight, flight, or freeze mode where you get into an anger fog or a fear fog and you just want to run away, or you just feel like you've got to fight something, fight that? Our culture is so about the fight against this and the fight against that. If you change the energy, it would work a lot easier than fighting against. But that's a natural tendency. If you don't like it, fight against it. If you don't, you know, if you're scared of it, run away from it. Or you may be totally frozen. People have gone through episodes in their life where something was such an event or a devastation to them or a shock to their system that now they're frozen in that state. That's an energy block right there, and tapping will take care of that. It reduces the cortisol levels, which are known as the stress hormone. When you start tapping in the middle of feeling something you don't want to feel, it will start to instantly change that stress hormone and lower the cortisol levels. It's that quick. It reacts that quickly. Tapping reveals and releases beliefs limiting our desires. It releases stuck emotions. I talked about how things can get stuck in your body. It promotes relaxation and reveals your true self, because once you start to clear all the stuff that's everybody else's and stuff that you don't want, the true you can be revealed, and that's when you can start to capitalize on the joy of your life. We're not here just to plug, and I don't think so, anyway, to plod along and just make it through. I would much rather go beyond survival. So those are the benefits of tapping. Okay, so how do you go about doing this? Those reactions to those questions that I asked, or some things that may just come up in your mind, this is how you start to develop what to tap on. That's the number one question I think all tapping coaches get is, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to tap on. I'm going to help you right here. So if you wrote down your reactions to some of those questions, you can start to tap through those feelings. And we're going to do some of that in just a minute, so hold on. But those things that come up to your mind, if you start to scale the intensity of those, and when I talk about intensity, if you start to think about something that really kind of ticks you off, I mean, I'll be honest, you're going to feel it somewhere, because it's going to react in your body, you're going to feel it somehow. You want to go for the biggest 10s. So the ones that are the worst, the ones that trigger you the most, the thoughts that you're thinking that really grab you, because it's the 10s. If you start pulling the energy of that down, you'll start to feel some reactions, and you will manifest things differently. So everything that we can tap on here, you can scale on a scale of 1 to 10. How strong is this for me? How strongly do I feel that way? And the 10s are going to be the biggest, with 10 being the worst. You can tap on those specifics of those answers. You can put it down as just a one-liner answer, and I'll show you how you can do that and tap. What beliefs came to mind when you wrote down those questions or you answered those questions? Do you have a story or an event that really stands out? Because those are the things that pop your energy right there. What feelings are you having in your body? We all know when we're stressed, we get reactions in the body, but it's such an automatic pattern, and you're not used to looking at what do I do when those triggers hit me. That feedback, all of those feelings, the attitudes, the stories, the answers, the charges, all of that stuff can now be your tapping script. It doesn't have to be, you know, as I work with people, I'm very methodical about what I do because I have the knowledge and the basis of how to go about working and weaving through what's blocking you. But as a newbie, that's what people say, I don't know what to tap on. Well, I'm telling you, these are the things that you can tap on. It doesn't have to be, you know, as precise as maybe a coach would be or as methodical as, you know, what I would do. So.
We got one more question here. So we're asking if each of you can share what you think your biggest triggers and modeling patterns are. And you can go ahead and just type the answer there where it says, type your answer here. It might take people a little bit of time to think about.
Right, and if we don't have time, I'm gonna actually keep going, but you know, those are the questions that you want to start asking from the things that I'm telling you. And I would encourage you to go back and listen to this again because I only have an hour here, so I'm trying to get to the actual tapping more than I am to guide you through your specifics. So if you don't have time to answer that, that's okay. I'm going to keep going here. So I want to get to a tapping script of how you actually do this technique that is kind of odd looking, but boy, is it powerful. So a simple tapping script goes like, even though, and then you fill in the blank with what your issue is. I have this belief that there's never enough. You know, what I observed about success might not fit me. I deeply and completely accept myself. So that even though, and I deeply and completely accept myself are usually part of what you tap on. Now, as a coach, if I know that somebody has a self-esteem issue, I may not say I deeply and completely accept myself because somebody's going to say, yeah, right, and that's another block right there. So I'm trying to get to some movement. So you can kind of temper this and monitor how somebody is going about this when you're coaching. But the basic tapping script is, even though I have this issue, whatever that is, you fill it in, I deeply and completely accept myself. Or you might say something like, even though when I think about success, I feel, what are you feeling in your body? Where do you get tense? Where do you get tight? Where do you get sadness? Where do you feel? And this will help you start to get your tapping script. I deeply and completely accept all sides of me and my feelings. Or the third one, even though when I think about success, my body reacts with feelings and discomfort, I deeply and completely accept myself anyway. Now, those are some samples, but, you know, some of those answers to the questions, you can fill in and plug into those things. That's why I'm telling you. You can write down answers to those questions, and it can become part of your tapping script. You can write down what you're feeling, and it can become part of your tapping script. You can write down what your thoughts are, and it can become part of your tapping script. So we're going to do a little bit of tapping here. And let me just take a breather here. Hold on one second. If you have some water by you, you may want to take some before we start because it works better if you're hydrated. Okay, so I have to start by saying, okay, there's one point that I am going to tap on that I left off, and I didn't realize that last time. But I didn't want to mess up the format of this. So we're always going to start on the karate chop point. I'm going to go through these real briefly, and I'm going to add in the underarm point. So you're going to have to listen for that because it's not here. I also want to say that if, as a moderator, I mess up or I miss a tapping point, it's not going to mess anything up. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to water it down. It's just the more points you can tap, the better it is. And I will also say that you can see on some of those points where there are dual sides. I mean, under the chin is not one, and under the nose and the top of the head, those are single points. But everywhere else, when there's double points, I tap on both sides of the body, and here's why. I did energy work in other ways before I learned EFT, and I know from a machine that I had and the energy work that I did prior to this, that one side of the body or one side of your liver could show balance while the other side doesn't. One side of your gallbladder can be balanced while the other side might not. And that's the reason that I tap on both sides. You can do whatever comfortable. It's not like it's I just think you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, so I tap on both sides of the body. The point that is missing off of here is the underarm point, and that is located about 4 inches underneath your armpit, as if you had an imaginary line down the side of your body. You may even feel around a little bit, 4 inches under your armpit, or there may be a sensitivity. And that's telling you there's some pooling energy there. Not to be worried about it, but there's some stagnation maybe going on there. So we're always going to start on the karate chop point, and we're going to do some tapping here. And I hope you'll get some benefit of this. Tap along, because listening to this is not going to do it. You have to tap. You have to engage in the actual activity of it. So, you know, when you're doing this on your own, you can go to what your thought might be or what your block might be, and you want to scale it, first of all. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong would it be? How resistant are you to it? And then you can see if your number changes, and that's what you're kind of looking for. Sometimes in a matter of minutes, people will have a reduction in 2 or 3 points. Okay, in a 5 or 10 minute tapping, if you have a reduction of 2 to 3 points coming down a scale of charge and intensity, that's pretty amazing. That's in a matter of minutes, and you carry this technique at your fingertips all the time. So we're going to start on the karate chop point, and I'm just going to do some tension, tightness, just to kind of do a little bit of an overview, and then I'll get into more specifics. So everybody, start on your karate chop point. Just in case, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but the eyebrow is the closest to your eyebrow, where the hair is, closest to your nose, side of the eye on the bone, under the eye on the bone, under the nose, in the crooks of the chin. The collarbone is actually, if you go to the V in your neck with the 2 bones on either side where your collarbone is, and you scooch down between those 2 big bones of the collarbone into that divot between that and the next rib, that's kind of where you want to be. So you can kind of follow along with the pictures here. Inside of the wrist, crisscross, you'll get both sides of your body, and then the middle top of your head. So here we go. Let's start on a tension or tightness. Think about some, you know, you might be holding some tension in your body. You might be thinking about something that's got you in a bunch. So just focus in on that, maybe an ache or pain somewhere. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly just to kind of smooth out the energy a little bit. Tune into that. Scale it on a 1 to 10 scale, with 10 being the worst. And let's do some tapping and see if that number can come down. Okay, so karate chop. Even though I might think this looks crazy, Lydia, could you repeat after me? Sure. And everybody else repeat? Even though I might think this looks crazy. Yeah. And I don't know if it'll work for me. And I don't know if it'll work for me. But if it could. It's free right now. It's free right now. It's at my fingertips right now. It's at my fingertips right now. And I want to see if it'll work for me. And I want to see if it'll work for me. Even though I might be holding some tension or tightness in my body. Even though I might be holding some tension or tightness in my body. And I want to give my body a relaxation break. And I want to give my body a relaxation break. Calm down the nerves. Calm down the nerves. The tension. The tension. The tightness. The tightness. The worry. The worry. And all the frustration, at least for now. And all the frustration, at least for now. And I'm open to the possibilities. And I'm open to the possibilities. Because I love, honor, and accept myself. Because I love, honor, and accept myself. Now go to the eyebrow point and repeat. All this tension in my body. All this tension in my body. Side of the eye. I wonder if this could help. I wonder if this could help. Under the eye, I wonder if it could help my success. I wonder if it could help my success. Under the nose, it looks so strange. It looks so strange. Chin, how could this help? How could this help? Collarbone, but it's based with acupuncture in mind. But it's based with acupuncture in mind. Under the arm, and acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. And acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. I'm not calling out the points, I just realized. Wrist, all this, that was an underarm point. Wrist, all this tension in my body. All this tension in my body. Top of the head, I want to give it a break and release it. I want to give it a break and release it. Now take a deep breath. Just to kind of settle down a little. I'm so used to seeing people that I forget to call out the point. So I'm sorry about that, but yes, I can see her actually moving from one spot to another. And so I forgot to say it, exactly. So sorry about that. We were moving from point to point. When you go back and listen to this, if you do move from point to point. Okay, so if your number came down, or even if it didn't, that was just a small sample. But now I want to get into a little bit deeper. The other thing too is if you have any water by you, you might want to take a sip right now. You want to stay hydrated, so hang on. I'm going to take a little Water break here. Coffee and tea are not considered water, just so you know in the future. Okay, so let's start on the karate chop point. I'll try to do better about calling out the points. I'm so sorry I missed it the first go round. Okay. So even though I may not like or agree with what I saw modeled for me, stay on the karate chop point, about success and money, that's okay. I can figure out what I need now. Even though what was modeled for me, about success and money, may not work for me. I choose to deeply and completely start to listen to my heart, and be open to what I need now. Even though when I think of how my life is going, it makes me feel, and I'm going to leave a blank there for you to fill in the emotion. There might be sadness or frustration or dread or whatever might fit there. And I feel it in my body right there. And pay attention to where that might be feeling for you. You may or may not feel it, but you want to start engaging your body to pay attention to that too. I can use this new tool to reprogram what I desire. Go to the eyebrow point. Maybe I didn't realize how my energy side of the eye was being programmed. Under the eye, maybe I watched career or job survival. But I didn't see them under the nose. I didn't see them making money and being happy. Chin, maybe I never realized I could be abundant. Collarbone, while doing something I love. Under the arm, maybe I saw that money was difficult to make. Wrist, maybe seeing or experiencing a loss or trauma. Top of the head is still locked into my energy, holding me back. Go back to the eyebrow point. I might be doing what they did. Side of the eye, but did it really work? Under the eye, what if I need a different way? Nose, what if my criteria is different from what they taught me? Chin, what if I never saw their needs being met and I'm doing the same? Collarbone, if I could design my life, what would I really want? Under the arm, it's not that easy, I have bills to pay. Wrist, I might not even know what my ideal looks like.
Top
of the head, when I think of my career, it makes me feel. Fill in the blank. And take a deep breath. And just pay attention to what's going on for you. Are you feeling more stirred up? Are you feeling more relaxation? Are you feeling some tension or tightness? Just kind of start to pay attention. And you can go back and listen to this replay. I hope I didn't mess up the points that time. Maybe I did.
You did good.
Okay. Well, you know, there's a lot going on here. I'm not used to this. Okay, so let's do another round, and then I'm going to show you how to program in what you want. Let's see, what time are we looking at?
It's 12:40, so
yeah.
Just a little past.
Well, let's do just one more round of the negative, and then we'll do some positives, and I can show you how that works. Okay, so go back to the eyebrow point. I can feel this tightness or restriction somewhere in my body. Side of the eye. I might never have realized how my body reacts. And now it's trying to guide me. Under the eye, I'm learning a new way to pay attention to my needs. Nose, under the nose, I'm learning a new way to work with my energy. Chin, it's time to figure out what I really want and need. Collarbone, I want to be able to create what I want and need. Under the arm, that won't happen or it'll take too long. Wrist, I have no clue how to do that. Top of the head, I don't think tapping would do all that, but what if it could? Take a deep breath. Take some water if you have some water by you. Just kind of settle into some of that energy. We might want to ask that polling question right here. I'd kind of like to get a feel. I can go back and do some positives, and I'll explain, too, why I do the negative while you're answering.
Yeah, so you should see a polling question pop up on the right side of your screen. Was there a change in your intensity? Was a change in your intensity, charge, or feeling?
So did you feel a little more relaxed? Are you more stirred up? Tapping kind of takes down that charge, that intensity, that, you know, when you're in a frustration and that's how you're feeling, it can start to pull that down, and it's releasing it. It's not just calming you down. It's actually starting to release that and tell your subconscious, we don't do it this way anymore. We're doing something different. Here, pay attention. I'm interrupting the energy pattern of what I'm used to.
Okay, so we've got quite a few people who said yes, and some who are still pondering that.
Okay. Well, I want to, one of the things I want to tell, too, is, you know, we all hear about positive affirmations, and people will say, why are you always focusing on the negative of what's wrong? Because here's the reason. If your energy is vibrating there, you are thinking that anyway. What happens when you do a positive affirmation that says, I am wealthy, and you're not? What's the next thought that comes up? No, you're not. What are you, crazy? That's not me. Those are the things that you're actually reinforcing is, no, that's a lie. No, that's not going to work for me. No, that's not who I am. So you want to go where you're vibrating. If you're already thinking negative, then you ought to tap on it, because when you tap, you're releasing that energy, you're starting to change the interruption of the pattern, and then you can start to program in the stuff that you do want. If you go to the positive too soon after not clearing the negative, you're going to get those tail enders that say, that's not true, that'll never happen for me, no, that's not going to work for me. And I'm telling you, it can work for you, but if you put positives in too soon, you're going to get those tail enders of resistance and rejection and say, nope, that's not me. Nope, that'll never happen. How's that going to happen? I can't do that. All of those things will start to show up. The other thing I want to say, you might be feeling a little more relaxed right now. I hope if you're listening to this on your lunch hour, you can go back to work and not fall asleep, because people do get very relaxed when they're tapping. It's possible, just letting you know. You may be tired tomorrow, too. This is pretty broad in general, though. I don't expect that you'll get too sleepy-eyed here. So let's just do some programming in of a positive after you've pulled off some of the negative. And if you're still feeling a charge, you might want to go back, listen to this replay, go back and do some of that tapping or something of those answers to the questions that I asked you or what you might be feeling, because this is general. I don't have you in front of me. I'm not asking you specifically what I can do, how to do it, what are you thinking, what are you feeling. So I'm just doing some general tapping here in hopes that it will apply to some of you listening. So we're going to program in some good. I'm going to take some water here. Sorry you have to listen to me taking water, but you know it's a necessary part of this process. Okay, so we're going to do some programming in. So I want you to start on the karate chop point again. And repeat. Even though I never realized I wasn't using my choice.
Even though I never realized I wasn't using my choice.
I might not have been using my choice.
I might not have been using my choice.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I can change things now.
I can change things now.
And figure out what I really do want.
And figure out what I really do want.
Even though I might have learned.
Even though I might have learned.
How not to be powerful.
How not to be powerful.
How not to be passionate.
How not to be passionate.
How not to get my needs met.
How not to get my needs met.
In ways that feel good to me.
In ways that feel good to me.
And hold on a second, I just want to point out, if you saw how they did it, but it doesn't feel good to you, then you've got to figure that out for yourself, and that's up to everybody's journey. So I deeply and completely honor myself now.
I deeply and completely honor myself now.
Even though, stay on the karate chop, even though it will take too long to change these things now.
Even though it will take too long to change these things now.
But what if that's just a limiting belief that I can change?
But what if that's just a limiting belief I can change?
I choose to have my changes be easy.
I choose to have my changes be easy.
Go to the eyebrow point. I wonder how I could program my energy.
I wonder how I could program my energy.
Side of the eye, so I could think and act differently to get the results I want.
So I could think and act differently to get the results that I want.
Under the I, I'd love to feel happy, healthy, and prosperous.
I'd love to feel happy, healthy, and prosperous.
You notice I said and, not either or. You want to put in the ands when you're doing the positives. Under the nose, maybe I've been blocked.
Maybe I've been blocked.
Chin, because I didn't know how to release what was unwanted.
Because I didn't know how to release what was unwanted.
Collarbone, maybe now I can clear that out.
Maybe now I can clear that out.
Under the arm, and program in what I do want.
And program in what I do want.
Wrist, what do I really want?
What do I really want?
Top of the head, what if I could use my energy to create what I want?
What if I could use my energy to create what I want?
Go back to the eyebrow, what if I could really be free to be me?
What if I could really be free to be me?
Side of the eye, I wonder how my life would work then.
I wonder how my life would work then.
Under the eye, maybe I can open up to this new way.
Maybe I can open up to this new way.
Nose, of using my energy.
Of using my energy.
Chin, I have nothing to lose by trying this.
I have nothing to lose by trying this.
Collarbone, and I might be surprised at the result.
And I might be surprised by the result.
Under the arm, what if I could clear out the old and program in my new?
What if I could clear out the old and program in my new?
Wrist, that would be amazing if it worked.
That would be amazing if it worked.
Top of the head, it might positively change my life if I tried it.
It might positively change my life if I tried it.
Take a deep breath. So, how's everybody feeling out there? Any change? So I wanted to share why we do the negative first, and then you can program in. But the answers to the things that you really want, sometimes people need help with that. I hear all the time, I don't really know what I want, I just want to be happy. I'm telling you, chances are you really do know what you want, but because of the negative limiting beliefs, the modeling, the emotions, the stuck energy, you've kind of buried it. So what a tool that can help you is I have a Design Your Life Now free download on my website. And we're going to get to some of this. Actually, I can just forward here on another screen, another slide here. It's called Design Your Life Now. It's on my home pages. I think it's on a few different pages, actually. And when you download that, I ask you specific questions on what kind of people do you like to be around, because you're not looking at what your mind is telling you is going to bring you happiness. You're listening for what your gut and your soul and your energy really wants. So when you start asking specifics of who do I love being around and why do I love being around those people, when you start asking what are my favorite jobs or things that I'm really good at that I love doing, and you start pulling all that together, you can have a tapping script to program in what you want. Just write down line by line, this is what I'd like to do, this is how I'd like to feel, this is who I'd like to be around. And that becomes your tapping script. So I'm giving you tools in this webinar to not only start asking yourself deeper questions, how you feel about it, what emotions are around it, what your body's doing, but also how to get in touch with what you really do love. I've had so many clients tell me, I can't do that Design Your Life Now goal list. It's really a dream list. And you might have a block to getting what you actually want. You might think that's impossible, and you can tap on that too. So on my website, trueauthenticpower.com, you'll find tapping blogs. You'll find more, some videos that you can tap along with. You'll hear about testimonials of what people's changes were and how they created what they wanted. There's posts and podcasts, and this is a screenshot of the video page where you can go and try this out. This first video right here, the intro to tapping, I tell a little bit more even about tapping, and partway through there's a tapping for anxiety. You can go and try those out. I have products. This, how to put yourself first, you would be amazed at how many people have such a resistance of what do I really need and how do I get in touch with that first. Some of these products will help open that up. The next steps for you, you don't have to believe me. And if this doesn't work for you and you think this is crazy, then find whatever works for you. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of things in your subconscious and your energy that if you move them out, your life will drastically change, can drastically change. Very likely that it could change. So again, the free download for the Design Your Life. And there's a video attached with that too to give you a little bit of idea of how to tap those things in, to give you a little more resource. There's just how to program old and new in that video. Interested in more, speak up. Tell the college you want more of this kind of stuff. These webinars are for you, so if this interests you and you want these kind of tools, let them know. You can contact me with any questions. And, you know, what I hope you'll walk away with is that you are using your energy, whether you know it or not, but you can learn how to use it to help your career, to help your life, to enhance what you want. Modeling emotions and patterns affect our careers and our life at a deep and often unconscious level, but you can release that energy. You have an incredible power at your fingertips, and that's why I wanted to bring this. It is one of the most heartfelt intents of mine to let people know that there are solutions, but you can't use what you don't know about. If you remove some of that negativity that's been programmed in or that has been stuck for whatever reasons, and then you can program in what you really do want and what you desire on a deeper level, oh my goodness. I mean, I've seen really amazing changes happen in clients, and it doesn't have to take a long time. Some things may take longer than others, but you can at least start with what I'm sharing here, if it feels right to you. If it doesn't, you know, move on. So now you learned a little something, and, you know, decide what feels right for you.
Okay, we're going to do a couple questions. Remember, if anyone in the audience does have a question, go to your chat box, and you can submit a question through that box. One question that we have is this something that really works better on a one-on-one individual basis, or have you ever done this with small groups or teams of people?
I have done both. You know, if everybody, have you ever gone to a concert where everybody's on the same page and you're all kind of vibing to the same thing? That's what can happen in a group. And there's an interesting thing called borrowing benefits, that even if you're not tapping on what would be appropriate for you when you're tapping with a group, you can still get benefit, because somewhere that energy will resonate with you, maybe with different words, maybe in a different way. If you want to get more, you know, specific and you really want to go for the down and dirty, you know, individual appointments certainly are going to be more geared towards your specifics. But you can do it both ways. I've done group tapping, I've done individuals, and I've done over-the-phone sessions. You know, there's multiple ways you can use tapping, and you can do it on your own for reinforcement. I always tell clients in between, do tapping on your own in between sessions, because you want to catch those when you're thinking or you're off to the races with energy or emotions or something that's really got you in a grip. The minute you start to feel that, if you can go to a bathroom stall and tap, if you can go to your car and tap, if you can interrupt it, right, you want to interrupt it, like right then, interrupt that pattern. No, we don't do it this way anymore. So, long answer, but I'm windy.
Okay, one more question. Do the modeling emotions and patterns relate more to your family and your childhood and personal relationships? Or say, for example, if you were a person who went through a series of layoffs in your career, is it something that even as an adult you've had these experiences?
It can be. Some of the foundation a lot of times is in modeling by what you saw that could create that, you know, I keep losing my jobs, I keep hitting the companies that are in the layoff. Some of that can be an energetic draw, believe it or not. But it can also be, you know, if you've had a financial trauma and you are holding that energy, if you got fired, if you got laid off, if that was a shock you didn't see coming, that can absolutely affect you in adulthood.
Terrific. Well, I think that's all the time that we have, and we've met our questions there. So we're going to go ahead and explain that any additional questions, if you have them, can be emailed.
It's all that's happening.
I know. Can be emailed to ritalum@rit.edu or tweeted to @RIT_alumni with the hashtag #MeRITWebinars, and we will direct your questions to Joanne. Note that all of the participants will be receiving an email from us in the next few days with a link to today's webinar recording. We also remind you to visit Joanne's website, www.trueauthenticpower.com, for the free download of the Design Your Life mini course found on her homepage. And you'll also find a number of videos you can view and more information on how you can connect with her. So many thank yous to Joanne for being our distinguished speaker today.
Thank you, Lydia.
And